Neil Hamilton.
Can I welcome the statement and in particular thank the First Minister for the amused courtesy with which he greeted my presence at his press conference yesterday. And from the thunderous look on the face of the leader of Plaid Cymru, I don't think she was quite so pleased to see me. But it was important, I think, that I should be there because it was an opportunity, in addition to today, to probe the First Minister on parts of the plan, in particular in relation to migration. I have to say I echo the sentiments of the leader of the Welsh Conservatives earlier on, that neither his party nor mine has been involved in any discussions with the Welsh Government on how to help take Wales forward in the context of the new reality of Brexit. And in particular in respect of migration, the plan's annex, statistical annex, shows that 86% of the people of Wales think that immigration into Britain should be reduced. 86%. And yet the leader of Plaid Cymru yesterday at the press conference said she didn't think immigration was a problem at all. So that the section of this plan about migration, which the First Minister acknowledges in his statement was the reason why many people voted leave, is hobbled from the start by his alliance with a party that is in denial about the whole process. And it seems therefore rather quixotic that he should give such importance to a party which is in denial about the reality, and yet to ignore the parties on this side of the House who, after all, were on the winning side of the argument. And I hope that he will agree that although the advance billing for... I hope he will agree that although the advance billing for the arrival of my colleagues and me in this assembly was that we were going to be disruptors and beyond the pale, that we have done our best to play a constructive part in the proceedings of this institution and want to play a part, so far as our political differences allow us to do so, in the process of getting the best outcome for Wales from this process. And therefore, going forward, if he will involve us insofar as it's not inconsistent with what the Welsh Government's political objectives are, that he would do so. As regards the section of the plan on migration, he did say to me yesterday he thought the Norway model was the way forward, but that doesn't address any of the concerns of the public about uncontrolled immigration from the EU. There's 450 million people outside Britain in the EU who have a legal right to come here for work and residence. And if we adopted the Norway model, that would be completely unchanged, because Norway is actually in the Schengen Agreement, of course, and therefore it has even less control over its borders than Britain has at the moment. And under current EU law, which is applicable in Norway, EU citizens not only have the right to accept offers of jobs in Norway, but also the right to go there in order to look for work. And in effect, they can take their dependents with them, and therefore that aspect of his plan is no plan at all, because it doesn't even begin to address the problem of control of our own borders. As regards the statement in relation to the customs union, I find that rather bizarre at a time when the President of the United States, our largest individual national trading partner in Wales, national, yes, the United States is a nation, and it's our largest single individual nation trading partner, that we rule out the prospect of doing free trade deals with the rest of the world, which is 85% of the global economy. Considering we've already had approaches from Australia, New Zealand and many other countries to explore trade deals. And after all, with other countries that have existing free trade or favourable trade arrangements with the EU, we are part of those arrangements now. Why should we find it so difficult to be able to continue them? The talk of 5 to 7 years of negotiation may well apply to the EU, where you have to get the agreement of 28 countries to a document. But when we're negotiating bilaterally, everything becomes much simpler, especially when we're negotiating with countries that are far more spiritually in tune with us and our view of the world than many of those to whom we've been shackled for the last 40-odd years in the EU. I'd like to ask the First Minister one question also about the sort of unremitting gloom of his plan and the statistical basis upon which many of his assertions are based. It's on page 9 of the document. It says that there's a strong consensus amongst mainstream economic forecasters, which I wouldn't agree with, that replacing single market participation with WTO rules could result in the UK economy up to 8 or 10% smaller than would otherwise have been the case. I can't understand how that could possibly be the case, because if we had no exports whatsoever to the EU, then that would take out 11% of our GDP. So is he actually predicating his plan upon the likelihood that we'd be doing no trade with the European Union at all? Is he expecting there to be a wall built down the middle of the English Channel? How could it possibly be the case, given that half of our trade under WTO rules would not be subject to any tariff at all with the EU, and the average tariff under the WTO rules would be 3.5%. How could this statistical basis possibly have any credibility? The last point I have to make is in relation to the future and the UK government ensuring that Wales should have every penny of what we currently get of British taxpayers' money through the EU. And in this respect, I am 100% in support of the Welsh Government's position, and we will do everything we can to ensure that Wales does get its fair share of the proceeds and benefits of Brexit, which include not only the money that we get at the moment via Brussels, but also the Brexit dividend of the £8 billion a year, which currently is spent our British taxpayers' money, which is currently being spent in other parts of the EU. So in that respect, again, there's everything for us to play for here if we advocate our cause in the most persuasive way. And the best way to do that is to establish the consensus which the Leader of Plaid Cymru claimed that she wanted to see also across this chamber, and involve all the parties that are represented here in this process, so that we can, so far as that is possible, and surely in this aspect at least, we can all agree unanimously that Wales must get as much out of this as it possibly can.